Hello, soul family. I love you all. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I was just out here grounding for a little while and figured I'd record a couple of videos for you guys. and this video, we're actually going to discuss the science behind and proof of the fact that our minds, our consciousness, is actually connected to the etheric plane. And in previous videos, I have taught you guys that the mind is connected to the etheric plane, your inner universe, your subjective universe within your mind's eye. When you close your eyes, your imagination, everything right there, that is connected to the etheric plane. And it's also connected to your subconscious mind. So, when you're performing magic, what you're actually doing is you are moving into the etheric plane within your mind. You are manipulating the energies that are happening there, and that trickles down through the astral plane and down into the physical plane, and then it manifests in your life whenever you're practicing magic. So the science that actually proves all of this stuff is actually really beautiful. So we have the double slit experiment, which shows that depending on whether or not you are observing an experiment when they're trying to shoot these particles through the double slits, if they're being aware of it and observing it either with instrument or their consciousness, like sitting there looking at it, the beams that they shoot out of the little ray gun will collapse and become particles, and it will either shoot through one or the other slit. When this happens, it leaves a pattern, a lined pattern on the wall behind it. But something weird happens when they don't pay attention to it and don't observe it with instruments. So they shoot these particles, and what happens is it goes through either both or none. And when it goes through both, the particle splits into two and then comes back through and hits itself. When it hits itself, it creates a wave interference pattern, and that creates multiple lines all across the wall because of the wave. It actually collapses down into a wave. So it shows that our consciousness is directly connected to this world, and whether we are observing something or not is whether or not it actually exists within that form. It's kind of like the saying where they say, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? The sound is waveforms. Did it even fall? Did the tree even exist? Until someone was there to observe it. Very profound questions. But, and there were other studies, and I wish I could remember all the stuff that they were doing with this other double slit experiment. Oh, they were experimenting with people's consciousness and whether or not from distances that them observing the experiment just by thinking of it, whether it would affect it from far distances. And there was tons of experiments where the same thing happened no matter if they were thousands of miles away whenever they were observing the experiment, I guess within the website or something. But it was insane how much the consciousness was affecting the experiment. Also, we have Dr. Emoto's experiments that show that depending on what intentions and words that we put into water, when he flash freezes it, if you're putting positive intentions, it creates sacred geometry like snowflakes in the water when it's frozen. And when you say negative intentions into it, or even just think negative things into it, it creates this nasty, just like blob-like, just like really nasty looking freezing. So your intentions that you're putting into the water, either through your vocalized word or whether you're just doing it internally and thinking about it, will affect the water differently. So that scientific proof that our consciousness and our intentions affect the world around us. Also the experiment with the rice, and the rice experiment where you put boiled rice into 2 different cups, and you put love on one and hate on the other. And you go every single day, you go by it, and you think or feel the emotion of what each of those are while you're staring at it. So you're focusing your intent and energy on that word and feeling that feeling. And when you do that, you will notice that the one that says hate will mold and get super nasty really, really fast. The one that you put love into, it actually takes forever before it even starts to mold. And even when it does start to mold, it just barely will a little bit. It don't like just spread and fill it all up like the one that you put hate into. So this proves that our consciousness, because you don't even have to say words or anything like that, you can just feel it using your feelings, which we know with magic, you have to connect the thought within the mind's eye with the feeling within the gut and heart, the Tipperest center basically. And then with action at the end. So you, within the magic, you get yourself into an altered state of consciousness. Then you have the thought and visual aspect of it. And you can use mantras and different things like that also with it. And then you have the feeling. So you get the emotional spike, the trauma, ways to program the subconscious mind, symbolism, repetition, and trauma. Yeah, the rice experiment definitely show it. Also, science is even now proving more with the plant experiments that have been going on, that all life is consciousness and they are all aware of each other, even the trees, all the plants. So they've done experiments with plants, and they will put them in rooms under different types of UV lights and infrared and stuff like that, and they'll have electrodes connected to the plants. They will go and kill a plant or tear off limbs of a plant completely on the opposite side of a room, and as soon as they do that, all the plants react and start sending out like basically stress hormones, and they all light up really, really bright. So not only does this plant have that reaction of like pain, basically disturbance, fear, or whatever it's feeling, but also all these other ones do, and they're not even touching or in the same dirt. They're in separate pots or whatever. Also, this one scientist went around to like thousands of trees in a forest and tied microphones to them, and then he went back and did this big study, and he found out that they were actually communicating through like a drum beat. And it's crazy because that drum beat that they were communicating through actually is one that is found in all tribes and stuff throughout the world, like ancient tribes. So listen at this. I'm going to do the little drum beat on my chest. This is what the trees were doing to each other. So this is like a drum beat that tons of ancient tribes, whether it be Native Americans or South Americans, African, like this is a tribal beat that many people that even drum today still beat. But this is what the trees were doing to each other. They were literally talking to each other through a beat. And we live in the universe, the one, we are all different organs. See, we have organs in our body. We're all different instruments playing a different tune. All of us have a separate frequency, which is playing a note within the orchestra of the all, the universe, the one verse. But yeah, they're communicating through that, and also, on top of the sounds, where they're and the way that they were doing it is they were bending and making their trunks crack. And it was literally synchronizing. It was insane how they were doing it. And they were all like connected and doing it down like all over the place. It was beautiful. But not only that, but another scientist actually was studying trees, and he was going down into the root systems and doing tests of chemicals and stuff. And he found out that the trees were actually communicating to each other energetically somehow. And when one tree would not have enough nutrients within it, it would actually feed those nutrients through the root systems and the ground into the tree that needs it. So the tree that needed these nutrients would basically send a signal out to the other trees, hey, I need this. I'm depleted in this, and I need this to survive. These other trees will come together and work together and feed those nutrients through the root systems into the trees. It's like a big neural network. The tree systems and the root systems and stuff like that is all connected. But yeah, that's showing that consciousness is in everything. And I'm going to make a video in a little while about how they've created this concept of pareidolia to disrupt you from understanding that there's consciousness in everything. The reason we see faces in everything is because everything is alive. Everything around you is alive. We're all forms and different frequencies and vibrations of life forms within the mind of the all. Everything here in creation, even things that are created by man, have a form of consciousness in them. And you can find faces in everything. Consciousness is everywhere. When you look in trees, you can find faces. You look in stones, you look in everything. And they explain this away with pareidolia, but it's because everything is consciousness. That's why they don't understand consciousness, is because it is everything. We're all basically like little cells in the mind of the all. But these things right here are scientific proofs that our consciousness is connected to the etheric plane. And like I've been teaching you, the etheric plane is how you perform magic. You go into that subjective universe within your mind, and while you're performing these rituals, you use symbolism, repetition, and trauma being that emotional spike when you connect the emotion with thought. And this is brain-heart coherence. I'm going to do another video about that, where how to connect the neurons, because you have more neurons coming from your heart to your brain than you have in your brain going to your heart. So we have a big neural network coming from the heart, and that's why it's great to be heart-centered and to live from the heart. Unconditional love. But yeah, living from the heart center, making that brain-heart coherence, and before you do the ritual, and making sure that the neurons within your mind and heart are connected through breath work and focus on gratitude. You make that connection and then do the ritual with repetition, symbolism, and trauma with the emotional spike by pricking your finger and using blood, or just by feeling an emotional spike of sorts. And it can be positive or negative emotions. But these are the proofs. I love you guys. I hope y'all stuck through this video, because there's a lot of amazing proof here that shows how magic works and how our consciousness is connected to everything. I hope everyone has a wonderful day today. Like if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I love you guys. Hope y'all have a great day.